Good afternoon, Luang.
Good afternoon, Ajahn.
So today is Saturday, the 19th of September. Thank you for doing another one of these sessions. So today I was wondering if you could offer some reflections, some perspectives that could be useful during those times in the practice when one feels maybe less enthusiastic, less motivated in the practice. We know practice is good and we actually want to do it, but we're kind of lacking some of that sharpness in the approach to it. Is there anything you could suggest that would help with that?
Well, it's because practice, just the idea that we should practice is a thought. And we've got this idea that I'm somebody who needs to practice to get something that I don't have, such as enlightenment. And what I always found helpful was to always, if the Dhamma is here and now, then it's perfect already. Perfection is our very nature. So we don't have to, by thinking that I'm somebody separate from Dhamma, that I have to practice in order to get the ultimate realization in the Dhamma is all a mental creation that I'm making. So listening to yourself, I don't have the energy, I'm bored, I don't like this present moment. If we bring this into consciousness, rather than just indulging in lethargy and complaining and indifference, or feeling guilty about not practicing, just to be aware of these mental states that you're experiencing here and now, no matter what they might be. Sometimes we're inspired, we depend on inspiration to really get into what we call practice. And then inspiration, is impermanent. You can't live a life just inspired by somebody else or something else. It's a determination to be aware and trusting in awareness that you find you're liberated from the delusions that you create with your own thoughts, your habit patterns, your identity as a separate individual self that has to find something that you don't have already. So enlightenment is not about getting something you don't have, it's about letting go of what you identify with. And in the Buddha's teachings are very clear, the body is not self, the feelings are not self, the memories are not self, the emotions are not self. Sensory consciousness through eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body is not self. What's left when there's no self is awareness. If you sort through that, and when we get bored or we aren't motivated or we feel lazy, these are all mental states that we identify with, and that very attachment to the idea I can't practice, my practice isn't any good, is all mental proliferation. It's just thinking, and thinking is one of the main hindrances to enlightenment, to seeing things as they really are. Because thinking is an acquired function that we aren't born thinking. It's an artifice that we acquire after we're born. But yet we're very attached to thoughts, and thinking is a critical function. Its whole purpose is to judge conditioned phenomena, whether it's good, bad, big, little, right, wrong, male, female. It's all, there to name and to define and to qualify conditioned phenomena. And ask yourself, are you really a conditioned phenomenon? You know, is this my true identity, this physical body, these feelings of the moment? Am I really a permanent lazy person or a permanent inspired person? You know, the personality changes according to the weather, the conditions, whether you've been rested or you're not, whether you're tired, whether you're healthy or sick or whatever. The sense of a self, separate self, is defined by words, by thoughts, by memories, by emotions. But who is it that is aware of these memories, aware of thoughts, aware of feelings, emotions? That's, you know, that's what we are every moment, all the time, is this awareness. And now we awareness with wisdom rather than awareness just through the habit of identifying with what we are not, because we are not what we think, we are not what we feel, we are not the memories that we have at any moment. We are this perfect, pure, conscious awareness all the time. And it's by reflecting on this that we break down the ideas of us, the limitations we place on ourselves through the thinking critical process. Like many times we have good meditations where we have insights, we get really good concentration, real samadhi, and we have a sense of peace and joy and happiness. And then the next day we sit in meditation and the mind wanders all over the place and unpleasant memories arise in the mind and doubts and worries. And then we start remembering the previous day. We want that. We want to get what we remember from what we call a good meditation. And that's, you know, that's the whole, trying to get something you don't have now is the cause of suffering. And so trying to, when you are in a state of bliss, to want to hold on to it, you know, is the very essence of suffering, because it's not based on wisdom, it's based on conditions changing in a certain way that you're still identified with the conditions of the body and the mind. So in Vipassana, our insight practices, is to really investigate the present moment, no matter what it might be, just feeling lazy and unmotivated or doubtful, bored. These are all mental states that we create ourselves, you know, that we can learn from. What do we learn from boredom? Is that it is impermanent and not self. Boredom is a mental state that we create through thinking. You're thinking, I'm bored, or I don't have the energy, or my meditation isn't any good. These are all conceptual proliferations that we create and believe in. And when we think of good meditation, then the opposite of good meditation is bad meditation. And Luang Cha used to say, good meditation is good, bad meditation is good. So it's all good if you're willing to you know, really take an interest in the reality of the present moment, no matter what its quality or state might be in the present. That which is aware of boredom is not bored. That which is aware of I don't like this place anymore, I want to go to another place, is is a mental state. That which is aware of that thought, that feeling, is not bored or fed up with any place or situation. Consciousness is pure. And so we identify consciousness through the sentient conditions of our bodies, through consciousness through senses. But the senses are untrustworthy. They can deceive us. What we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, think, feel is all changeable and conditioned by other conditions. But what is unconditioned, not conditioned, unborn, uncreated, is conscious awareness, here and now, Dhamma. And so throughout my monastic life, that's been the main reference point. When I'm fed up or bored or confused or doubtful, I think that I always reflect on the present moment, because that's where experience is. It's always here and now. We think we're going to have a better experience if we go to another monastery or go off to the forest or get out of the situation we're in, because we imagine in the future that if I change the conditions that I will find happiness or peace or have inside better meditations in other situations. The best meditation is always awareness here and now. Even awareness of boredom or resentment or doubt. Doubt is a very important condition to recognize, because doubt it's uncertain, isn't it? We want certitude. We want to be told what's right, what's wrong, how we should meditate, what we should do, where we should go. We go to teachers hoping that they'll tell us exactly how to meditate and what to do. Because the thought that I don't know how to meditate is still a creation. So good teacher is always pointing at the present moment. The very thought that I can't meditate is being aware of that is conditioned, isn't it? It's words, it's thoughts, it's views, it's concepts, it's always the sankharas or conditioned phenomena, and the point is that you put yourself in the Bhutto or the Buddha position of awareness, because that's what Buddha really means, awareness here and now. And it's aware of the way things are. All conditions are impermanent. All Dhamma, reality is not a personal self. It's not, confined. Ultimate reality is not confined to any condition. So getting beyond the conditions is through sati sampajanya, or awareness, clear comprehension, intuitive awareness, intuition, apperception. These words convey this sense of not just intellectual understanding of Buddha's teaching, but an actual using them for investigation. It's like road signs pointing to Bangkok, because the road sign has the word Bangkok on it. It doesn't mean that that's Bangkok. And then what is the point of a road sign? Is it's pointing the direction so you can drive to Bangkok. But if we just look at the road signs of Buddhism, then we never realize Dhamma, because we're caught with the words, with the concepts, with that which is impermanent and not self. Even the teachings of the Buddha are concepts, are words. but they're words that are directions, where to go, the direction to take to get to Bangkok, rather, or the direction to take to realize Dhamma, to know Dhamma through direct knowing, through what we call enlightenment, through the reality of here and now, rather than just counting the road signs or memorizing, the teachings. The teachings are merely directional signs that help us to look at the here and now. The present moment is like this. So there's these words, it's like this, because the present moment can change in terms of its quality, so you can feel depressed or bored or eager or inspired, but the reality of the present moment is stillness, is peace. Behind all the noise, underlying all the movement of greed, hatred, and delusion is peace. So awareness puts us, the teaching of the Buddha are pointing to that always the present moment, which is in its true nature peaceful. The state of mind is not peaceful. The mental state, is, because you're bored or upset or anxious or doubtful, that's not peaceful. But if you patiently endure those, allow them to be what they are, allow doubt to teach you that it is a condition that comes and goes, that restlessness is a condition that comes and goes, that greed or lust or anger or fear, all these are conditions that come and go according to other conditions. But what doesn't come and go is awareness, mindfulness, consciousness. It's the reality of Dhamma, here and now, that is always here and now. It isn't about, it's here and now in some places. Wherever you are, I remember years ago being told by various other Buddhists that you can't practice in Bangkok, it's too noisy, and you have to go off to the forest. And I liked that idea, that was the day of, I didn't want to live in Bangkok and become a Buddhist monk in Bangkok, big city, noisy place. So I went off to the forest, and then even in the forest, there's so many annoying things that you don't want, that you wish there were no mosquitoes. The birds, the animals make a lot of noise, and then the weather changes, and you get rainstorms or windstorms, and then days and nights are incessantly changing, and wherever you are, but the idea that that my enlightenment, that my peace of mind depends on better conditions was an illusion. Once you realize the power of awareness, then it doesn't matter where you are, because you're just as much aware in Bangkok as you are in the forest. It's not a matter there's more awareness in the forest. There's the conditions that affect you, that through your senses are different in the forest than they are in Bangkok. But in reality, it doesn't matter the conditions, whether they're good, bad, peaceful, chaotic, or however you define them, they are conditioned phenomena And in this constant refrain of the Buddha, Sape Sankhara Anicca, all conditions are impermanent. That's your reflection. That's the reality of the present moment. Then the Buddha also, in his second noble truth, the investigation of desire, of Dhamma, to really, recognize that desire is the realm that we're experiencing through the senses. The senses are all about desire. What we see, what we hear, smell, taste, touch, think. The very body itself is a desire form. And it's created through desire. Its very nature is to survive and procreate the species, and then on the social level, to be respected and admired, and not to be rejected and despised and looked down on. These are all based on desire. And so in the Buddha's teaching of the Four Noble Truths, the second noble truth is a investigation of desire. Like desire can't investigate desire. That's impossible. But you are aware of desire, of sensual desire through the senses, or the desire to become something, become enlightened, to get samadhi, to get psychic powers, to become something better than what you think you are now, is like bhavadanha, desire for becoming. And vipavandanha, the third type of desire to get rid of, to control, to get rid of boredom, sleepiness, doubt and worry and anxiety. We all want to get rid of these unpleasant emotions that we experience. But we're aware of that. You're aware of wanting to get rid of anxiety and worry. It's like this. So these words, it's like this, is a directional sign. It's not just to tell you that it's going to be like this all the time. But at this moment here and now can only be the way it is. The way you're feeling, your physical health, the conditions that come together at this very moment. It's like this, and you open to that. You observe it. You're the awareness. You know this. You are this awareness, rather than what you're aware of that changes according to other conditions. So in the simple teaching of trust in awareness, because it's the only possibility that there is for any of us. In terms of personality, of ability, intellectual ability, emotional stability, these are all transitory and different and changing, whether you're male or female, or rich or poor, black or white. These are conditions that we strongly identify with. But they're uncertain, unstable, coming and going and changing. And they're not self. They're not you can't find any permanent identity through thought. Thought itself is very changing, very quickly changing from good to bad, to right to wrong, and its whole purpose in the human experience is to discriminate, to divide good from bad, right from wrong, male from female. That's what thinking does. It's a discriminatory function. So when we attach to thinking as our identity, when we try to think of ourselves as this physical body, as these emotions, as this feeling, this emotion that I'm experiencing in the present moment, as personal and mine and wanted or not wanted, then we're caught in the birth and death cycles of what we call samsara, the cycles of birth and death. But when we see the futility and the pointlessness of attaching to birth and death cycles, we let go. We relax, and letting go doesn't mean we close down or destroy anything. We just don't make problems about the reality of the present moment. It's like this. Whatever it might be in terms of experience and its quality, it is what it is at this present moment, and this is the experience of here and now. So, then investigating time, we think we think of practices as a progression, starting out basic meditation and we go into advanced meditation. So that this is very much still thinking, isn't it? Basic meditation, I'm just a beginner. And then after a few years, you want to see yourself as an advanced meditator, but you still feel like a beginner. Or, in terms of thought, you think, I've been a Buddhist now 10 years and been practicing meditation, I'm still a beginner. This is thinking. And to express yourself, I'm not saying it's wrong thinking or you shouldn't think, but be the observer of thought rather than the owner, the possessor of thoughts. Because thoughts are untrustworthy. They are sankharas, they are conditions, they are phenomena that change very rapidly. Thoughts come and go very quickly. So encouragement to not believe what you think you are, no, whether you think you're a good person or a bad person or right or wrong or intelligent or stupid. It's not, these things are not important to identify yourself with goodness and rejecting evil. Evil is a sankhara that we have bad thoughts, evil thoughts that we're frightened of, we feel guilty about. Rather than seeing that, to trust the awareness. In terms of action and speech, we don't act on evil thoughts or speak on through them, but we are aware of them. They are sankharas just like any other good sankhara, excellent sankhara, beautiful sankhara, and they're the opposite. If there's beautiful sankharas, there's really ugly sankharas. But in terms of awareness, all sankharas are impermanent and not self. So, in terms of guilt, people feel guilty about what they've done or said in the past. And what is guilt here and now? It's about remembering something you physically did or said, that is in the past. What is the past right now? It's a memory. A memory is a phenomenon that comes and goes. It's very insubstantial. You can't, when you try to attach to a memory, then you start proliferating and feeling guilty and blaming others or blaming yourself. But all of this is thinking, is proliferating endlessly and believing your own thoughts or trying to get rid of them, to stop them, to to try to destroy your thoughts, rather than being the aware, that which is aware of thoughts are like this. Whether they're good or bad thoughts isn't the issue. The awareness is the liberation itself. So awareness is the direct liberation from sankharas, from that deeply rooted sense of a separate personality, a separate self that makes us feel lonely and judgmental and frightened about the future. So the future is, as Ajahn Soko said earlier, we're all going to die. They cheer up, we're all going to die. That's quite a good reflection, actually, because the bodies, these bodies, they're supposed to die. That's what they're supposed to do. And so, they're supposed to be born, grow up, get old, and die. It's just the nature of sankharas. And then the law of karma. There's karma about cause and effect. So sankharas are all karmic. If birth is the very cause of death. That which is never born never dies. But anything that begins or is born is going to end or die. That's the law of karma. So in terms of, we're born with a terminal illness from day one, because the birth is going to be, is the cause of death, when we reflect like this. But are you really what you believe, that you are a physical body? And this is the challenge that we have, to break down this strong identity with that which is karmic, that which has no real essence itself, that is quite empty in itself. All sankharas, they have no independent life of their own. They depend on consciousness to be alive, to be able to think that, cheer up, we're all going to die, is because we're conscious. Consciousness doesn't die. But sankharas die. So we begin to see the difference, notice the difference between what doesn't die here and now, doesn't change, and what does change. So this is discernment, or the ability to notice that what your true nature is consciousness, the deathless reality. And what you are not are the sankharas that are karmic, that depend on other conditions for their own existence, and they have no stability. They're in this incessant state of change, and begin to see that the futility of trying to find who you are as a concept, as a personality, as a human being. What is my purpose in life? How many of you ask? I've asked myself that question. What is my goal? What is my purpose in terms of me as a separate individual? And then, we come up with metaphysical propositions and about rebirth or reincarnation or going to heaven for eternity, or these are all concepts, all thoughts that we create, are created by human beings. So, but we're aware, we become aware of thought. It's no longer what we identify with, but just being, the pure reality of being aware is perfection itself, is contentment, is happiness, perfection itself.
So coming back to the original question, there's no actual need to look for inspiration, to look for motivation, to look for enlightenment, because it's actually all here, right? Now.
Exactly, yes. Me is a pronoun. It's acquired knowledge. But it has a sense of me and mine. What about me and this is mine? And so we possess things, this is my space, this is my kuti, these are my robes. I'm a senior monk, you're a junior monk. And so we define ourselves according to, the status or the sankharas that we find ourselves with. But in meditation, we're reflecting on that, being senior or junior, or being a samanera, or being a nun, or a monk, or all words, concepts that are conventions, but that's all they are. They're not real persons. When we assume, like in monasticism, we have these seniority identities, who's senior to who. And these can become a real sense for conceit. When seniority is always sounds better than being junior. Just logically, to be the senior monk then you're just the newly arrived novice, or just an anagarika. We say things like this in this convention, but in terms of reality, it's not. To identify with the conventions that we find ourselves living with is kind of missing the point. We didn't ordain to become senior monks, but to realize, to awaken to Dhamma, to wake up, to see things as they are, not to become a powerful, popular Buddhist monk, or become head of a monastery. These things happen, but that's not liberation in any way. That's more, that can be, a source of conceit and an obstacle to enlightenment. But when we find ourselves in positions of power or influence or seniority, they are, it's like this, being junior, being newly ordained novice is like this. But that which is aware of the way it is the same for all of us, whether you're a very senior, high-ranking monk or a very newly ordained monk. The awareness is exactly the same. Awareness, consciousness isn't personal. It has nothing to do with seniority or monk or nun or novice. It's what we truly are, and everyone is, which some of us are aware of and others are totally ignorant of. They follow the sankharas and believe them and operate from their positions, of junior, senior, or high and low, wealthy and poor. And class systems are all based on that illusion of being wealthy is the best, and being poor is kind of like you're a failure, but you're the losers. and being wealthy is the winners. These are all verbal constructions and belief systems. They're not ultimate reality, and they're not liberating when we attach to them blindly. On a conventional level, we can recognize that conventionally it's like this, but we didn't ordain to just become conventional, but to get beyond convention, to Dhamma, to reality itself. So this sense of me as a person, me as a human individual, this is convention. So conventions are, their very nature they're created. You're not born you acquire your conventional identity after you're born. Newborn baby is just a conscious human being, individual body, and a consciousness is the same in an infant as it is in a fully enlightened arahant. Consciousness is no different. And so it's that simple. In other words, awakening to Dhamma is the most simple reality that we overlook endlessly through complicating our lives, through the conditions that we find ourselves with in the present moment. We're defining ourselves always with complicated conditions, with habits, with memories, with identities about who we are, where we belong, and what religion we belong to, what national identity do we have. Our gender identity is now very important, to be really identified with gender, and sexual identities is becoming increasingly important in modern society, because we want to know who we are, and we've got these physical bodies. They have sexual desires, and they're not always the same for everyone, and so we identify some as right, some as wrong, good, bad, and now we want to say everything is okay, but that's still another thought, where meditation is getting beyond thinking to the perfection of the here and now, the reality of Dhamma here and now.
Thank you, Paul.